Speaking of the case in New York, man, in regards to Tupac and Ayanna Jackson, how you feel about that?
Well, first and foremost, when it comes to something that's important in dealing with women as that situation, I don't really want to deal with my feelings. I just want to deal with the facts. And the fact of the matter is first of all, Tupac was innocent. And if he never met Ayanna Jackson, Tupac would still be alive. And most people would say, well, you know, she wasn't in Vegas and all of those other things. But let me give you the ripple effect of what that is and what that means. First and foremost, Tupac, she had gave Tupac a massage on the said night, and that was admitted in court. And so when Tupac was charged, what they charged him with actually didn't happen. And so what they did was, what the prosecutor did was, the prosecutor overcharged Tupac, which would then put the prosecution in a better position to basically force Tupac to take a plea agreement. And if anybody knew Tupac like I knew him, he wasn't the type of guy to cop a plea for something that he know he didn't do. You know, most people in that situation, for less time, they would cop a plea. And like I said, once again, the reason for that is they were already mad at the fact that Tupac had got off for shooting the two off-duty police officers down in Atlanta. Tupac could have jaywalked, littered, or loitered, and they were going to try to get him for something. So this was the right opportunity for them to now, you know, get Tupac Shakur. And so, like I said, once they charged him, they gave him like 5 charges, you know, knowing that he hadn't committed any charge based on the evidence. And once the DNA evidence came back and there was no DNA, they didn't even have intercourse that night. So there was no sexual assault to be had. But I'll go into the fact of this. So now Tupac has to be in New York at this day and time, or that day and time, should I say, to attend this trial. And you know, as well as I do, that everybody in their mama would know that he's in town because the media, once again, is talking about the trial of rap superstar Tupac, now beginning, the newspaper, the Daily News. And so people now know that you're in town because you have to be there, you know, for this trial. And so if he doesn't meet Ayanna Jackson, he doesn't be charged. He wouldn't be charged for those trumped up charges to have to go to court for people to know that you're in town. You understand what I'm saying? So then by knowing that he's in town, he then now gets called or to the studio. And so if he's not there in New York for that, he doesn't get called to the studio. And therefore, he's not shot on that night for whatever reason. Robbery, mistaken identity, or whatever, you know, thing you want to put on there. From his understanding, he felt like he was set up. So he doesn't get called there, if not for meeting her and being in New York to have to go there for that trial. Furthermore, now we don't have no bad boy beef. We don't have no beef between Biggie. We don't have no beef between Tupac. We don't have no beef between them at all. Because number one, he doesn't get shot. Right? So that kicked off that.
Right.
And now we have the tension, you know, from him being there and being called to the studio, being shot, surviving, and now him making these accusations when he, like I said, his judgment is clouded. He just got shot, you know what I mean? And like I said, the only person that could know what he was feeling that time was him. You know what I mean? So therefore, there's no beef with Biggie now. There's no beef with Puffy. None of that ever transpires because everything was all good with them prior to that moment, right? And therefore, now, Tupac never goes to jail. Tupac never goes to jail if not for meeting Ayanna Jackson. So now, if he doesn't go to jail, then Tupac what? He never signs the death row. So he never has to sign the death row or be bailed out by Interscope or Warner Brothers or anybody else that they had thought at that time. People thought it was Suge Knight, but like I said, we discussed in the early interview that didn't happen and the truth about that. So he never gets bailed out. He never has to get bailed out to death row or anybody else at that particular time if he's not in jail for those trumped up charges. So now, Tupac never goes to Vegas. He never meets Faith Evans under the situation that he meets Faith Evans under at the Hollywood Athletic Club. It's a little bit more of a respectable thing now because there's no beef. Now, this is Biggie's wife. And he doesn't come from the perspective or then realizes later on when he sees or they see, should I say, the opportunity to do whatever they did in that situation. You know what I mean? There's never a hit him up. He doesn't write hit him up. Not with those same incendiary lyrics that he wrote hit him up with. Because once again, therefore, there's never a beef. There's never that feeling of animosity or feeling of betrayal that he felt like at the time that he felt like Biggie had betrayed him with. You have none of that. Therefore, he never goes to Vegas. He never goes to a fight with Suge Knight, or he's never on death row because of the situation that it stemmed from and that ripple effect that now comes from those trumped up charges. Then, once again, he doesn't get in a fight with Orlando Anderson. Not under those terms. That never happens. You see what I'm saying? That same, because he's not on death row.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's not under death row, so he doesn't meet Orlando Anderson under the same terms. I think probably if they met under any other situation, they'd probably be cool. You just never know. But under that situation, they never meet under those terms. Then, he's never riding in the car with Suge Knight that night, going to the club to be shot. Like I said. So at the end of the day, when you think about it, none of those things happen if not for meeting Ayanna Jackson. But then let me flip it for you. So, but then on the flip side, we would never have All Eyes on Me. We would never have Machiavelli. We would never have the movie Bullet or Gridlock or none of the other music that he recorded while he was under death row.
Yeah, man, we'll never have Bullet, Gridlock, gang related.
Yeah, we would have none of that. And so it was his destiny. That was his destiny. How much we like it or don't like it as his fans or people who love him or somebody like myself who knew him personally, we hung out. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to, record, with him and things like that. So, yeah, it was his destiny. So once you think about that in totality, if it wasn't for that night that he was introduced or met Ayanna Jackson, Tupac would be still alive. But like I said, on the flip side, we would have none of that great music and none of the great memories and things that we have, now that we can, just ponder on, for generations to come.